Hello viewers, welcome to this lecture on environmental sociology. Today the topic is the theory of treadmill of production, and the different objectives of this particular lecture are to understand the definition of treadmill of production and to understand the different domain of this particular theory, to know its impact on environment and also in agriculture, and also to understand the theory of treadmill of production in a better way and correlate with ecological modernization. The treadmill is a particular conveyor belt where a person can run or walk, but the interesting fact is that the person is not showing any net displacement and he actually stays in the same place. Similarly, the theory of treadmill of production highlights how constant search for economic growth will lead to advancement in economy, but ultimately the economy is stuck like a treadmill where the well-being of the people is not improved, and it will impact the growth and it will cause massive unsustainable environmental damages. So this particular theory was denoted by Alan Schneiberg in 1980 in his article The Environment. The human economy make withdrawals of raw material to make stuff with use of exchange value and make additions in the form of pollution or garbage. The aim of production is to grow the profit for the capitalists and investors, and in this case the powerful investors will be definitely the multinationals, and that will lead to increased technology. It will replace labor, people will lose their job, particularly in the developing countries, and increase withdrawal and addition. And this particular cartoon very nicely depicts that a particular treadmill of production is just like an endless running. We feel that we are getting advanced, but ultimately we are running at the same place. And of course, with the expenditure of money, with resources and time, everything is lost, but ultimately the development is not there. So the treadmill of production, there are fiction, fact, and the trajectory. What is the fiction? Morality of an individual is key to the society, where the individual may change their moral stance, and this stance will change towards nature, consumption, and use of energy. But the fact is that the treadmill of production is actually doing harm to the environment. It will generate profit. It will definitely give energy-intensive technology, lot of capital investment, but ultimately there will be low labor input. And the trajectory is gradually there will be increased production, more substitution of energy and machine in place of labor, and ultimately people losing job, as a result of which the economy will stuck. What we are considering economical development is nothing but a pseudo-development. So the focus area of the treadmill of production are how those who control the production process, corporation, are the primary agents driving the treadmill, and how the state and the worker generally continue to provide support for the treadmill's continuous reproduction, and who are the consumers or the citizen who continue to support this treadmill. Of course, when there is a particular development for the developed countries or developed companies, there will be lot of resources consumed, but the poor person will become further poorer, as a result of which he will try to do a defensive consumption. What is that? He will try to maintain the level of social practice, and well-being is just to maintain their lifestyle. No development. Now, this treadmill of production is leading to environmental degradation. So there will be the corporation, the worker, and the state. Apparently there is growth. There is development. But as a result of which more resources are consumed, as a result of which more waste products are generated, and there is environmental degradation. The treadmill of production leads to environmental risk. And what are these risks? There will be more resources consumed. So gradually there will be resource depletion. There will be increased industrialization, more technologies, as a result of which more people will be attracted, and there will be uncontrolled urbanization. And this will lead to specific focus centers where the population is very high, and this particular phenomena is actually irregular distribution of population. People will start leaving the villages, coming to town, considering the lifestyle will be improved. There will be uncontrolled consumerism, consumption, more and more consumption, more money power, more consumption. And that will create a demand. Sometimes this demand is beyond the supply. As a result of industrialization, resource depletion, there will be effluence all over, deposited, and at the same time the natural resources, that is the biological resources, the forests, they will be depleted. And there will be transformation of land. Maybe the land which was forest may be transformed to pasture, and that might be due to more cattle meat, like what is happening in the Amazon rainforest. That is being converted to grassland only for the growth of cattle, and overall the degradation of the environment will take place. This type of positional nature of consumption is very important in this case, and it will involve a process in which consumption of some individual or groups will be in excess over others, and there will be use value of other individual consumption coming down. People will be forced to buy used things because they don't have the money to buy it, except for those lucky people who are actually moneyed. The most famous theoretization of positional value of consumption was given by Veblen, and Veblen's theory of positional goods developed the theory of leisure class, to which I will discuss after some time. But according to Hirsch, 1976, positional goods pose social limits to growth. Some goods could be produced in unlimited quantity, and other were only available in limited supply. And under the umbrella of positional goods, Hirsch included two types of goods. Of course, that also can be used as limitation of positional goods theory. And they are the goods limited by natural scarcity, resource depletion. Resource is not there. Unidirectional loss of resources will result in resource scarcity. And the goods limited by social scarcity, that is the status, power of status. And here lies Veblen's limitation theory. And in his book, Thorstein Veblen, that is the theory of leisure class, he mentioned this. What did he say? He said that the political economy of modern society is based upon the social stratification of tribal and feudal societies. In the 70s, he mentioned this. And it is not depending upon the merit or the social utility or economic utility of individuals. So what is development is actually a pseudo-development as per this particular theory of leisure class. Now, relational exchange entitlement from famine to housing poverty. This phenomenon also comes under this treadmill theory because it is actually denoted by the famous economist Amartya Sen. In 1985, he explained the exchange entitlement, and ultimately that will approach to starvation. Now, what is exchange entitlement? The set of all the commodities that an individual can acquire in exchange of the varied entitlements they possess. It is nothing but what people are buying resources with their money. And when they are buying resources, it is becoming deposited on one side and the other side is starving. So it is not simply due to food shortage, but the person's exchange entitlement will permit him to acquire enough food. So if that entitlement is not there, starvation is the outcome. And as a result of which, Amartya Sen said, starvation is a function of entitlement and not of food availability as such. So we come to the social contingency of the adequacy of commodities. Actually, I have already mentioned the use value of commodities. And actually, this is socially constructed as the means for supporting competition over status. The increased purchasing power of some group actually undermines the ability to acquire basic goods and the social mode of consumption. The social contingency of the effectiveness of the commodities is most clearly demonstrated how social network and the means of accessing them have evolved. So, if we see the theoretical framework of the treadmill of production, there is a definite flow sheet that is emerging. We can consider employment condition or employment status on one side, and the other side is actually the resource usage and waste generation. So, the employment status, definitely if it increases, there will be increase or decrease in tax revenue, because ultimately people, if they are losing their job, the tax payment will be reduced. There will be an impact on social services, and there will be more consumption, and ultimately there will be a force on the particular market to generate more product and increased production. In order to maintain this production, the multinational will come in and there will be investment. When there is investment, there is import of technology, as a result of which the labor requirement will be reduced, and more so, the environment will change. People will run after profit. Here I mean to say the people means the multinationals, as a result of which there will be usage of more resource and generation of more waste and destruction of the environment. So in a nutshell, this is how this particular theoretical framework of the treadmill of production is standing. Now, another very interesting aspect is the lambda economic growth, which is considered as the major driving force for the expansion of treadmill. Actually, the treadmill theory is originally a dynamic theory with primary assumption of capital investment and how it increases with the demand for the natural resources, vis-a-vis the worsening of the social welfare condition of the people, and of course the environment. And this particular lambda economy is actually resulting in the accumulation of the benefit for the political parties ruling that country, ruling that place, and of course the economic power of the shareholder of those companies who are gaining profit in the expense of environment. And definitely this more profit will be only limited to a particular section of the society. And this particular transformation and adaptability of the treadmill theory actually showed a new paradigm in the late 1980s. What is that? Globalization and trade liberalization took the dominant trend in the world during that time. There was increase in return of the investment, and the goal of achieving social and environmental improvement was gradually outshone. At the same time, the process of globalization, the transnationalization of treadmill came into existence, and there will be a hegemony prevailing in the world in the name of development. And what is that hegemony? More unemployment, deepening inequality, and decreasing income all over. Particularly if we consider the north-south divide more in the southern hemisphere. The increasing influential operation of the private sector on a global level, eroding the sovereignty as well as competitiveness of this developing nation. And of course, the government or the people will lose the power of protecting the local environment and maintaining it. And this hegemony within treadmill is gradually getting intensified with more resource depletion. We consider the global treadmill with the environment. The TOP, or treadmill of production, as explained by Schneiberg, said that production is the key process which explains the increasing environmental problem in any country, particularly the developing countries. The increase of state, capital, and the environment and ecological resources are converted for profit generation. And there is intensification of production process driven by competition and drive to increase profit by the multinational. And this endless production thus results in continual process of environmental degradation and loss of ecosystem. We will now discuss a little bit about agricultural treadmill. This is also very interesting. In terms of agricultural nation, a particular country may produce agricultural crop, but gradually that is also institutionalized and the farms are maintaining this agricultural production. And there will be technological change in terms of seed, in terms of fertilizer, in terms of pesticide and machinery. As a result of which, that increasing capital input will change. There will be more efficiency. There will be more agricultural production. But ultimately, what is getting eroded? The land quality and also the labor. So ultimately, the price of production is declining. And this particular importance of agricultural treadmill is that it enables overproduction of agricultural product and commodities. The farmers dependent on taxpayer funds, they are compensating for the low growth commodity prices. Farmers might get poorer if they are not supported by the government. The technology adoption is very important, particularly for rural community. And if this technology is reaching them, definitely it is development. But if it is not reaching them, they are left alone. And the precision agriculture, the name of precision agriculture is actually application of pesticide, fertilizer and chemical fertilizer, modification of the soil, production of weedicides and pesticides, which are ultimately destroying the natural flora and fauna. So that is environmental damage. And the consequence will be the new technology will gradually replace the labor. There will be increase in productivity and technology, but ultimately suffering of people will increase because this technology is not reaching every nook and corner of that particular country. And this will result in the fall of prices of agricultural product. Because a multinational farm will produce more, the prices go down, but whatever the farmers are producing, they will not get their price. And there will be increased migration to the cities. What does it mean? They are not getting the price. They are not being able to maintain their lifestyle. So they will shift from agriculture to other profession. So they will migrate to cities. And there will be less labor supply in agriculture. And there will be two types of pressure. What is that? Permanent productivity pressure and permanent price pressure. The permanent productivity pressure is that there has been almost constant increase in productivity. Every country is weighed on the basis of the agricultural production that the country is showing. And the agricultural sector will be dominated by multinational firms. So productivity pressure will increase. But the permanent price pressure is that there will be direct effect on the productivity on price development, and there will be other factors which will result in the reduction in this price. But the pressure will be on this price. So the technological treadmill is very unique. You can see a production increases and people are going towards this production. Those who can join this conveyor where the production increases, they will be benefited, and the rest, they will be losing their prices, and the prices go down for the common farmers. And at the same time, there will be other associated factors, like the synthetic pesticide go up, natural pest population which are susceptible will go down. There will be more purchased seed, so natural germplasm will be hardly there. At the same time, there are more pressure or increase in synthetic fertilizer, and organic matter of the soil will be reduced. So that is not development. That is actually agricultural damage in the long run. And if we understand this, then only we can come out of this conveyor system. There is also the pesticide treadmill associated with it. That means a particular pesticide will be used in order to combat the pest. And there, as a result of which, this pesticide has got poisonous chemicals which will kill the non-target organisms. As a result of which, the big multinationals will market them, will flood the market with these pesticides, and farmers will use them, and permanently the agriculture will be damaged. And the consequence is very nicely explained by the use of 2,4-D, that is an herbicide, 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid. What happens is, these crops on which this 2,4-D is used, the weeds are destroyed by 2,4-D. And there will be new products to be developed, because at a time will come when this particular crops will be resistant to 2,4-D. And 2,4-D is already costly, and we have to develop something else in order to remove these weeds. And there will be more pathogen infection, because this particular pathogen can remain on those weeds as an alternate host. So it is a vicious circle, and we will all suffer. The last part of this particular lecture is ecological modernization theory, that is by Janicke and Huber in 1989. What is that? Protecting the environment, reducing the resources, reducing pollution, and that ultimately will make the earth a better place to live in. Second aspect is business and society are increasingly accepting that it's possible to de-link economic growth and resource flow. So this particular switchover is very important, where there will be limited industrialization so that environmental improve is there. And Moll and Spargeren said that the fundamental argument of ecological modernization is the design flaw of modernity. And this ecological modernization can be weak and strong. What is that? That is, a weak ecological modernization shows technological solution to environmental problem. But strong ecological modernization ultimately will change the institution and economic structure of the society. Similarly, in case of weak ecological modernization, there will be policy making by scientific bodies. But here in strong modernization, open democratic decision will be taken up. Overall, this weak modernization is restricted. And it will be restricted to consolidate global economy, whereas this strong ecological modernization is concerned with the international dimension of environment. So when we correlate the treadmill of production and ecological modernization, we can see the radical change. Treadmill of production is for economic radicalism, whereas ecological modernization is for environmental radicalism. And the variables are absolute sustainability for treadmill of production, but ecological modernization is relative improvement in terms of the environment. So basically, this is a stuck. We are not moving in treadmill, but there will be real change in ecological modernization. So obviously, it is more stronger for the future development of the globe. And definitely, conventional environmental problems will be solved and the risk will be reduced. The risk of this treadmill of production will be reduced. In this particular lecture, what I have discussed is, I have discussed the theory of treadmill of production, how it has originated, what are its different aspects. I have also discussed the defensive consumption and positional economy. I have of course brought in the economist Amartya Sen and his views, and we have also discussed the lambda economy, and I concluded with the ecological modernization vis-a-vis treadmill of production. Thank you.